Boarded-up shops, empty downtowns, city halls scrambling to balance budgets that just won't budge. Could your city be next? While skyscrapers still shine and traffic still hums, a quiet crisis brews beneath the surface. What happens when the tax base disappears, when services collapse, when the bills just don't get paid? Some U.S. cities are already teetering on the edge, crushed by debt, fleeing populations, and promises they can't afford to keep. These aren't distant small towns. They're major metros, once booming, now bleeding. Is your hometown on the brink of collapse? Let's break down the 10 U.S. cities most likely to fall first if the economy crashes. A multitude of significant events have unfolded across the globe, and it's essential we delve into them. Before we proceed, please consider subscribing to our channel and giving this video a thumbs up. Your support is incredibly important for our channel's growth and allows us to continue bringing you insightful content like this. Also, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We love hearing from our audience around the world. Number 10. New York City. New York, paradoxically one of the wealthiest cities globally, harbors a serious issue behind its dazzling facade. Despite the flashing lights and billion-dollar skyscrapers that define its skyline, something is seriously amiss. The city is grappling with an overwhelming debt exceeding $171 billion. This figure, staggering on its own, doesn't even account for future pension obligations, painting an even grimmer financial picture. How does a metropolis famed as the city that never sleeps manage to operate when its financial reserves are dwindling? It's startling to realize just how fragile the economic foundation of such a vibrant city truly is. The burden translates to each taxpayer owing approximately $71,400. Should a significant economic downturn occur, the iconic Big Apple could face internal decay, rotting from the inside out. The consequences are already becoming visible. Schools are underfunded, vital public services are being slashed, and crime rates are experiencing an upward trend. While the city's wealth might appear limitless, the accumulating bills tell a different story. Compounding the issue is the demographic shift, with more people moving out than moving in. This exodus raises a critical question. Who will be left to shoulder the mounting financial responsibilities? It's a thought-provoking scenario. Have you ever pondered the potential consequences when a city of this magnitude begins to crumble? The New York City we know today might be unrecognizable in just a few years if these trends persist. Please make sure to watch this video until the very end, as we'll be summarizing the key points and drawing important conclusions. Number 9. Chicago, Illinois. Chicago. Situated as the heart of the Midwest, Chicago faces its own set of alarming financial challenges. What occurs when the vital pulse of a major city begins to falter? Chicago is currently buried under an immense debt load of $38.2 billion. Its fiscal health has been assigned an F grade, a clear indicator of severe financial distress, sounding alarm bells loud and clear. It's quite surprising how many essential lifelines for the city's economy and residents have already been severed or significantly weakened. Retail chains, once prominent fixtures in the urban landscape, are now fleeing the city at an accelerating rate. Entire shopping districts, which were previously hubs of commerce and activity, now stand eerily quiet, shadows of their former selves. This decline can be attributed to a toxic combination of factors: persistently high crime rates that deter shoppers and businesses alike, steep taxes that place a heavy burden on residents and enterprises, and years of documented financial mismanagement that have eroded the city's economic foundations. What's truly staggering is the implication for the average resident. Effectively, each taxpayer in Chicago owes over $40,900 just for the city to reach a point of breaking even financially. This isn't merely a budget gap, it's a stark warning shot, signaling deep-seated fiscal instability. Consequently, when the broader economy experiences a downturn, the question looms large. How long can Chicago sustain its operations and keep the lights on before facing potential collapse? We aren't just discussing a slowdown. The potential for a complete collapse is a real and present danger. Do you still believe major cities are immune to such crises? The situation in Chicago suggests otherwise. Before we move forward, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so we can keep bringing you eye-opening stories just like this. Every share, every like, helps us keep digging into the truths most people miss. Number 8. Honolulu, Hawaii. Imagine crystal clear waters, swaying palm trees. Honolulu is the quintessential dream destination featured on nearly every traveler's bucket list. It embodies paradise. However, what if this idyllic image masks one of the most financially unstable locations in the entire United States? A tropical paradise, or a financial volcano waiting to erupt? This is the startling reality confronting Honolulu, Hawaii. Behind the picturesque postcards and serene beaches lies an economy teetering on the brink. The city's beauty often distracts from a brewing financial disaster. Honolulu carries a failing fiscal grade, indicating severe financial mismanagement and instability. Adding to the precarious situation is the immense taxpayer burden, with each resident owing nearly $31,700. The financial cracks are widening at an alarming pace. It's hard to fathom that this stunning island city is billions of dollars in the red. The financial troubles run deep. Tourism serves as the critical lifeline for Honolulu's economy. But what transpires when global travel patterns shift, slow down, or halt altogether, as witnessed during recent global events? During the pandemic, the state lost over 220,000 jobs, and Honolulu bore the brunt of this economic devastation. Hotel revenues plummeted, countless small businesses were forced to shut down permanently, and property values experienced significant drops. Even now, well after the peak of the crisis, many sectors and individuals haven't fully recovered. The city government's spending habits exacerbate the problem. It spends over $1.50 for every dollar it earns. This burn rate is fundamentally unsustainable, even within a thriving economy. And here's the kicker. The cost of living in Honolulu is the highest in the entire United States, surpassing even notoriously expensive cities like San Francisco. While residents grapple with affording basic necessities, the city continues its trajectory deeper into debt. Infrastructure is aging and requires substantial investment. Homelessness is on the rise, creating social and economic strains, and public workers are owed massive pension funds that are not fully funded, adding another layer of financial obligation. Does the idea of paradise last forever? Perhaps not. One sharp economic downturn, and Honolulu could face a financial storm more devastating than any hurricane. Ever wonder what happens when the economy dries up in a place surrounded by water? The situation in Honolulu provides a concerning glimpse. You're about to find out more. Number 7. Portland, Oregon. Portland was once widely regarded as a symbol of creativity, progress, and a unique, free-spirited lifestyle. It was a city where young people flocked, drawn by the promise of starting fresh, building innovative businesses, and living freely according to their values. However, in recent times, it feels as though something has gone terribly wrong, shifting the city's narrative dramatically. Portland, Oregon, has quietly earned an F grade in fiscal health, a stark assessment from independent financial watchdogs. If you scratch beneath the surface of its quirky and progressive image, the reasons become apparent, leading many observers to conclude that the city is teetering on the edge of collapse. The financial numbers paint a brutal picture. For every $1 of revenue the city collects, Portland's government has promised to spend $1.40. A significant portion of this spending is tied up in pension obligations and post-employment benefits, many of which are critically underfunded. In simple terms, the city is operating deeply in the red, essentially hoping that no one notices the extent of its financial instability. But people are noticing. Rising costs of living, escalating crime rates, and a sharp decline in business confidence have shaken the city to its core. Once bustling commercial corridors, the arteries of local commerce, are noticeably thinning out, with empty storefronts becoming increasingly common. Major retail chains and big-name stores are disappearing from the downtown landscape, further eroding the city's economic vitality. What's perhaps even more alarming is the demographic trend. Population growth has slowed dramatically, and in some neighborhoods, it is even reversed, indicating an outflow of residents. When people start leaving a city faster than they are arriving, the tax base inevitably erodes. This erosion of the tax base is precisely when a city can truly begin to crumble under its financial weight. Portland is currently burdened with over $2.8 billion in unfunded liabilities. Its economy is particularly vulnerable to downturns in the tech sector and shifts in work-from-home trends, which impact commercial real estate and downtown activity. Portland is walking a perilous financial tightrope. Can a city renowned for its ability to reinvent itself find a viable path out of this fiscal predicament? Or are we witnessing the slow, painful unraveling of a place that once stood for everything modern, bold, and progressive? Number 6. New Orleans, Louisiana. You hear the iconic sounds of trumpets. You see the vibrant Mardi Gras beads. New Orleans evokes images of celebration, rich culture, and remarkable resilience. It's a city known for its jazz, unique festivities, and its ability to bounce back from adversity. However, beneath the captivating music and the festive masks of Mardi Gras lies a reality that is far more fragile. Behind the jazz clubs and the bright lights, a city is quietly drowning in financial quicksand. Welcome to New Orleans, Louisiana, a place where culture thrives exuberantly, but the municipal balance sheet is bleeding red ink. This is a city still grappling with the long-term effects of rebuilding after Hurricane Katrina, still recovering from the economic shocks of the COVID-19 pandemic, and now confronting a looming fiscal cliff that most residents don't even see coming. It might shock you to learn that New Orleans received an F grade in fiscal health. This dire rating signifies that the city owes vastly more than it brings in through revenue. Compounding this precarious situation is the significant taxpayer burden, over $21,900 per resident. Every person living in New Orleans is essentially stuck with a silent, hefty bill, whether they are aware of it or not. Revenue gaps continue to widen year after year, while crucial public infrastructure crumbles under the weight of prolonged underinvestment. Essential services are stretched thin. Add to this an over-reliance on the tourism and hospitality industries. These sectors, while vital to the city's identity and economy, are highly sensitive to economic downturns, natural disasters, and shifts in travel patterns. This dependence creates a volatile economic base. Furthermore, the city is responsible for hundreds of millions of dollars in pension and healthcare obligations to its workforce, commitments that it simply cannot afford to meet in the long term based on current projections. So, when the next recession inevitably hits, or another disaster strikes, how long will it be before the bills simply stop getting paid? Who foots the bill for essential services like public workers, emergency response, and school funding when the coffers are empty? They all hang precariously in the balance. If you believe that FEMA or federal aid provides a permanent safety net, think again. What happens when the next hurricane rolls in, and the recovery funds are already depleted or unavailable? New Orleans might be resilient, having faced numerous challenges throughout its history, but resilience alone doesn't pay the bills. The city's undeniable charm remains, but the cold, hard math doesn't lie. When cities collapse, they often don't go out with a dramatic bang. They fade quietly into a state of broken systems, failing infrastructure, and desperate, unmanageable budgets. Number 5. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Philadelphia stands as one of the oldest and most historically significant cities in America, the very birthplace of independence. Its rich past is woven into the fabric of the nation. Yet, beneath the historic brick buildings and iconic landmarks like the Liberty Bell and Independence Hall, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, finds itself ensnared in the midst of a serious financial freefall. These days, it's not the sound of liberty ringing through the city, but rather the alarming clang of warning bells signaling fiscal distress. The city earned a failing grade in fiscal health, a stark assessment reflecting deep financial troubles. This burden translates into a taxpayer liability of nearly $27,600 per resident, placing Philadelphia among the worst in the nation in this regard. Shockingly, most residents remain unaware of just how dire the financial situation has become. The city government consistently spends more than it earns, year after demanding year, relying heavily on unstable revenue streams and precarious one-time financial fixes to patch massive holes in its budget. This approach is akin to using band-aids on critical wounds. Public debt is climbing steadily. Essential city services are shrinking due to budget cuts, and crucial public pensions are severely underfunded, creating a ticking time bomb of future obligations. Philadelphia currently holds over $11 billion in these unfunded liabilities, and disturbingly, this number isn't decreasing. It's actively growing. This unsustainable financial picture is further compounded by a shrinking middle class, declining public school enrollment figures, and an exodus of younger residents seeking opportunities elsewhere. These trends erode the tax base and further strain city resources. The signs couldn't be clearer. If the national economy takes a significant nosedive, Philadelphia won't just feel a pinch. It won't have a safety cushion. It will face a crater. This isn't just about abstract numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about real-world impact. Residents are already experiencing the consequences. Trash pickup delays are becoming more frequent. Libraries are closing their doors or reducing hours. Emergency response times are slowing, and roads are crumbling from neglect. These are not future possibilities. They are current realities. If a full economic collapse were to occur, the situation in Philadelphia could rapidly deteriorate from difficult to utterly unlivable. Do you still think a city's historical significance makes it immune to failure? Philadelphia's plight suggests otherwise. Number 4. St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis, historically known as the Gateway to the West, a city that played a pivotal role in building the American heartland, is now facing a future filled with hard questions and troubling financial prospects. It risks becoming a gateway to financial ruin. At first glance, with its iconic arch and rich history, you might not expect St. Louis to be on this list. But beneath the skyline and the historical charm, St. Louis, Missouri, is battling a deep and worsening fiscal crisis. This crisis poses a significant threat of collapse should the economy take a downturn. What happens when the factories that once powered the city close their doors, when the money dries up, and when the population continues its long decline? You'd be shocked to learn that St. Louis is ranked among the worst cities in America regarding fiscal responsibility. According to data from Truth in Accounting, St. Louis has consistently received a D grade or lower in financial health assessments. This poor rating is driven by a growing taxpayer burden and a dramatically shrinking population base. Right now, the city owes more than $1.1 billion in unfunded pension and healthcare promises, bills it simply cannot afford to pay based on its current financial trajectory. The economic engine that once powered St. Louis, robust manufacturing and industry, has been in decline for decades, leaving a significant void. Jobs left the city, and people followed, seeking opportunities elsewhere. The city's population has plummeted by over 60% since its peak in 1950, a staggering demographic collapse. This exodus leaves behind crumbling infrastructure, rows of empty buildings, and a tax base far too small to support the city's needs and obligations. Every time a resident or business moves out, it means less money available for essential services like maintaining roads, funding schools, and ensuring public safety. The people left behind are the ones shouldering the ever-growing debt burden. Public services have already begun to slip noticeably. Crime rates in St. Louis are among the highest in the country, further deterring investment in residency. Schools are struggling to maintain basic educational standards with inadequate funding. With fewer than 300,000 residents remaining, the city's fundamental ability to sustain itself is in serious jeopardy. So, what happens when the next recession hits? When municipal funding dries up completely and federal or state support runs thin? For St. Louis, unlike cities with stronger financial foundations, there may be no safety net left to catch it. Number 3. Dallas, Texas. Dallas presents itself as big, bold, and booming, a shining example of Texas growth and prosperity. But is the reality as bright as the gleaming skyscrapers suggest? With its shiny towers, sprawling freeways, and a reputation for being business-friendly, Dallas projects an image of robust economic health. It might surprise you, therefore, to hear that Dallas, Texas, is carrying a significant amount of financial baggage, enough potentially to crush it in the next major economic crash. Despite its rapid growth and outward signs of wealth, Dallas earned an F grade in fiscal health from independent watchdogs, placing it among the financially vulnerable cities. The underlying numbers don't align with the prosperous facade. The city is currently facing more than $3 billion in unfunded liabilities, primarily related to pension and retiree healthcare obligations. Furthermore, the gap between what the city owes and what it can realistically pay is not shrinking, it's widening. This translates into a significant burden for taxpayers. Every taxpayer in Dallas would theoretically need to fork over $13,500 just to cover the existing financial shortfall. What's fueling this precarious situation? Dallas has been heavily depending on borrowing and on future revenue assumptions, projections that may not materialize if a significant economic downturn occurs. While property values are currently rising, so are the costs of providing city services and meeting obligations. Critical infrastructure across the city is aging and requires substantial investment. Moreover, the police and fire department pension funds are known to be in trouble, adding another layer of financial risk. All of this is unfolding while the city simultaneously races to keep up with population growth, a growth that is outpacing its available resources and straining its budget. Dallas doesn't possess a substantial rainy day fund, a reserve that could buffer it from a major financial crisis. The appearance of prosperity is real, but underneath, the city's budget is stretched to its absolute limits. If the national economy begins to wobble, Dallas won't be immune to the shockwaves. In fact, given its underlying financial weaknesses and reliance on continued growth, it might be one of the first major cities to feel the cracks appear and potentially experience a severe fiscal crisis. Number 2. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Once a formidable industrial powerhouse, the Steel City, Pittsburgh is now a city quietly weighed down by billions of dollars in debt and facing an uncertain financial future. Steel built this city, and heavy industry defined its identity for generations. But what happens when the very foundation of a city begins to rust? Beneath the grit and pride associated with this historic American city, something dangerous is quietly unfolding. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a city once forged in the fires of iron and steel, is now buckling under the immense weight of accumulated debt, persistent economic stagnation, and concerning population decline. These factors combined create a volatile mix that could explode if the economy crashes again. It might shock you to learn that Pittsburgh owes over $1.5 billion in long-term debt. This figure, however, doesn't even include hundreds of millions more in unfunded pension and retiree healthcare promises, obligations the city is unlikely to meet without drastic measures. And here's the kicker that directly impacts residents. Each taxpayer in Pittsburgh would need to pay nearly $16,000 simply to cover the city's existing financial hole. This isn't just a manageable problem, it's a flashing red flag signaling severe fiscal distress. Pittsburgh has struggled to fully reinvent itself and transition its economy since the decline of the steel industry. While sectors like technology and education are showing growth, they haven't been sufficient to offset the losses in traditional industries or reverse the long-term trends. The city's overall population has fallen by more than 50% since the 1950s, leaving behind hollowed-out neighborhoods and shrinking revenues. With fewer taxpayers and higher costs associated with maintaining an aging city and meeting legacy obligations, Pittsburgh now spends more money just to tread water financially, with little room for investment or future growth. The city's pension system is still underfunded by nearly 30%, meaning that when the next economic downturn hits, Pittsburgh could be forced to make painful choices, cutting essential services, delaying critical payments, or increasing taxes on an already burdened populace just to stay afloat. Public transit, policing, infrastructure maintenance, even basic services like garbage collection, nothing is off the chopping block when money gets this tight. Furthermore, Pittsburgh has an aging population demographic, with more retirees drawing from the system and fewer young workers contributing. The economic base continues to weaken. Who pays the bills when the demands on the system outweigh the contributions? It's a city trying to rise from its industrial past, but if its financial floor collapses, it could fall faster and harder than anyone expects. Number 1. Miami, Florida. Sunshine, skyscrapers, speedboats, and high-rise condos paint a picture of glamour and wealth in Miami. But beneath all that glitz, Miami, Florida, is confronting a gathering financial storm that few are discussing. Until now. Behind the vibrant nightlife, beautiful beaches, and booming real estate market, the city is grappling with severe financial vulnerabilities. It might shock you to discover that Miami carries nearly $2 billion in unfunded pension and retiree healthcare obligations. This debt is accumulating faster than the city can manage, creating immense pressure on its finances. Making matters worse, Miami operates on an incredibly thin razor's edge margin, spending nearly every dollar it takes in, leaving almost no room to breathe or handle unexpected crises. In fact, the city has earned a failing fiscal grade, placing it among the most financially vulnerable cities in the entire country. And this doesn't even factor in the environmental threats. Miami is also one of the most climate-vulnerable cities in the U.S. Rising sea levels and the increasing frequency and severity of hurricanes are already costing millions in damages and mitigation efforts annually. Yet, despite these clear and present dangers, the city continues to underinvest in long-term climate protection and infrastructure resilience. Essential infrastructure needs significant upgrades to withstand future storms and sea level rise. Insurance costs for homeowners and businesses are skyrocketing due to the increasing risks. Simultaneously, housing affordability is in free fall. Wages for the average worker are not keeping pace with the rapidly rising cost of living, particularly housing costs. Homelessness is visibly rising, adding further strain to social services. And amidst this, many developers, wary of the long-term risks and costs, are reportedly pulling back on new projects. Tourism and real estate are Miami's economic lifeblood. However, both industries are notoriously sensitive to economic downturns, travel disruptions, and, increasingly, climate-related events. One significant hit, whether an economic recession or a major hurricane, could cause thousands of jobs to vanish overnight. Without a diversified economic base or substantial emergency reserves, Miami could spiral downwards rapidly. Add the soaring cost of living, and residents are already stretched to their breaking point. The question isn't if a crisis will hit, but when. And what happens when the money runs out, the weather hits hard, and the overdue bills come knocking? Miami isn't just a beach town. It's a major city walking a perilous financial and environmental tightrope. 10 cities, 10 warning signs. From iconic skylines like New York and Chicago to historic neighborhoods in Philadelphia and New Orleans, and even sun-drenched paradises like Honolulu and Miami. Each of these places is standing on shaky ground. Common threads emerge. Crushing debt, particularly from underfunded pensions and retiree health care. Fleeing populations or stagnant growth eroding the tax base. Reliance on vulnerable industries like tourism or declining manufacturing. Aging infrastructure requiring massive investment. And often, years of financial mismanagement masked by temporary fixes or favorable economic conditions. Debt is rising across the board. Populations are shifting in ways that strain resources, and the safety nets, municipal budgets, rainy day funds, even federal aid expectations, are wearing thin. When the next economic crash hits, and history tells us it will, some of these cities may not recover. The truth is, collapse doesn't always look like immediate chaos and destruction. Sometimes it's quieter, slower. A budget cut here, a closed library there, a crumbling road left unfixed, a slower emergency response time. It's a gradual erosion of services and quality of life. And then one day, perhaps triggered by a recession, a natural disaster, or simply the culmination of years of neglect, you realize your city is no longer what it used to be. Its foundation has crumbled. If this video opened your eyes to the silent crisis facing many American cities, please do us a favor. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss what's coming next, as we continue to explore these critical issues. Like the video, so more people become aware of these situations, and share it, because someone you know might be living in one of these ticking time bombs without realizing the full extent of the risk. We've got more cities, more in-depth stories, and more hard truths to uncover. Until then, stay alert. Stay informed and keep watching. Thank you for joining us on our channel. Please leave a comment below letting us know which city you're watching from.